That's right, and the previous council should have thought of that when they operationalised Variation 48 on the 31st of January 2011, because they could have changed the rules back then, and they didn't. So it's kind of been a bit of an oversight. We're playing catch up, fully admit that, but it is a top priority. It's part of the flooding task force response, which is to get, we're getting urgent advice on whether we should be intervening on the EQC declaratory judgment with the insurance company, and if we are to do that, we have to do that by Friday. So that's people are working under enormous pressure to try and get a solution to that, an answer to that. And the second thing is the Building Act itself doesn't require people to apply for a building consent if the foundations are not being, if insufficient of the foundations are affected by the change. We have been utterly appalled, well, I have been, as you have, utterly appalled to find that people have had their floor levels lowered in order to level their floors right by the Heathcote River. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. And so, we're working as fast as we can to get that information. It will be part of the suite of solutions. Brent knows more about this than I do because he's one of the ones that's been working on it.
And this, the only other thing is, in the flood map, you've got the central city, but in the other hazards map, you've just got a big grey blob. I think it's really important to include the central city in terms of hazard management. So I would like to, we need to have something in there that talks about
Okay. Well, what put that in it? It's the same issue as the red zone.
Yeah. The flood management has got the central city. It's the liquefaction maps that don't. Is that my reading of it? Yeah?
That's why it's got a flood in it, so we'll definitely look into that, thank you.
I think it is useful. I mean, I looked at it, in terms of that, and I thought, it's hopeless, not to have our central city included in the mapping.
The central city is included in the operative city plan.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but
proposed plan.
If I live in the Avon Loop and this new plan goes through and it's got new flood management rules and heights, what does that mean for me in the Avon Loop where I'm green zone and looking at a repair? So I don't have to comply with the new city plan.
Are we looking at that in the phase 2?
Yeah, the central city chapter is coming to you as part of the phase 2 chapters that are going through, and the reason for that is because there are most of the rules that went through the CCRP contain the operative plan rules, which we won't necessarily be able to change because they're now in place through the CCRP, the recovery plan. That. However, we're doing what we can do with Sarah to try and make things as consistent as possible. Yep.
So the natural hazard, I can't see any logic why the natural hazard should not apply to the central city. So
we're just looking into that. So if we can do something on that now, we will definitely do that, and they'll come back to you as part of the overall report for when you need to approve these.
Yeah, it would be our preference to include the natural hazards elements.
Yeah. There will certainly be some that we probably can. For example, the flooding. I'm just not sure about liquefaction rules and things like that. So we'll come back to you on that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, all we're talking about there is timing, though, isn't it? Because it is going to be in the phase 2 chapter for the central city. All the necessary provisions are going to be proposed by officers in that chapter in phase 2. But if your request is that timing-wise that be done now rather than in phase 2, that's all we're talking about, isn't it?
That is, although it's not as easy as it would appear. I mean, there are some differences between the two rules, and we're just speaking with Sarah about how far we can go. We will put in there what we can. Yeah. However, we don't have a lot of time, obviously, to do.
I think when it comes to natural hazards, like what concerns me is that you see the pace of the rebuild picking up in the central city. Roads are being rebuilt. New major projects are going in, and if they're going in on the old assumption that we have as a city, when we know we've got a new assumption around how high things should be, and we've got extra liquefaction tests that people need to do, I cannot see any valid reason not to ensure that, particularly the central city where you've got a hive of activity, that takes that into account. It just...
Yeah, no, and I mean, just 2 words, Fitzgerald Ave. You know, I mean, that was built putting back what was there before, and it's just ridiculous. So
look, I completely accept your concern. We'll do what we can do, but with the timing that we have at the moment, I'm not sure how far we can go. So any changes that we can make before we come back to you will be in the plan. We've done the work, but there's also the CCRP currently in place at the moment, and what we have to understand is the legal possibilities around any changes there.
Yeah, but I also think that it's actually quite a strong case on this chapter over all other chapters for us to get that consistency embedded now. So, but yeah,
if we can do that, we will.
You're going to do that as best you can. Glenn and then David.
Just like to ask a
naive
question, if I can. And my question is this: is there any reason why a council, through its district plan, when it comes to the floor levels, and you have to ascertain, I think major foundational damage, so whether it's using our own guidelines or MB's, is there any reason why a council actually can't go into bat for its constituents with insurance companies and say, you must lift, so that we actually act as, our role is advocacy, but, in the plan we actually take that position and say, good luck to anyone trying to compel insurance companies to do anything. But is there anything that, is there any reason why we can't actually take a position and say we want our constituents to be looked after, to their houses to be lifted to, X level once they've, once the foundational damage exceeds, whether it's 25 or 30%, whichever?
Understood, Councillor. The council has decided on its community outcomes through the long-term council planning process. The council's decided what it wants to do for its community. Yeah. If the council, through that process, has decided that it wants to advocate for community results in particular areas, then of course there's no reason why the council can't do that. That's an issue for the council, though, quite separate from a district plan review process.
So, but the council could refer to the plan, obviously, in arriving at a position. I don't know how it would do it, whether we'd formally resolve on something or,
I'll just make a couple of comments. Glenn, there's 2 things that we are doing. Of course, the district plan has policies that support the floor level rules, so that policy support is clearly stated in the district plan. The second thing we're looking at doing is updating the floor level website, which at the moment defines the floor level according to the Building Act if you're outside a flood management area, and according to the district plan if you're within a flood management area, to also give people the information for the proposed flood management areas. So that information will be available and in front of them. So if they want to make a more conservative decision, if you like, and provide more protection to their house, they'll have the information there immediately. Because that website is used a lot by builders and planners. So we are proposing to provide more information to help people make those decisions. And a number of people are choosing to do that, even though the rules don't require them to now.
Yep. Vicky?
In relation to these flood plans that you've got here, did you come across anything while you were mapping all these of rebuilds happening in a way, particularly perhaps community-owned facilities or government-owned facilities, schools, for example, happening in a way that wasn't going to be appropriate post-district plan?
Do you know? Not that we're aware of, no.
Okay. Thanks.